Uh, if my voice is a bit raspy today, forgive me. I'm suffering from flu, so yeah, if I'm a little low on energy or if my voice is a bit raspy, then yeah, please, I hope that you guys don't mind. All right, so for today's workshop, let me quickly give you an outline of what we have. So firstly, we have a big activity related to some project management, project scope problem. And then we have few network diagram questions. And then towards the end, we have a couple of fill in the blanks and true and false statements. Okay, so as usual, we are going to do all the discussions here in the main room itself. I just find that it is more productive and more interactive rather than doing it in groups. So we'll do all the discussions in the main room here itself. All right, and this session will be recorded. So if later you want to go back and have a look at our discussions, and of course, it will be available on Moodle. All right, so let's have a look at the first question here. So let me read out the question and then we'll have a look at the solution as well. Okay, so there are two countries, country A and country B, and both these countries' government, they signed an agreement. Sorry, let me get this. Yeah, they signed an agreement to create and develop a three master plan. So okay, let me just, better than reading out, I'll just explain it to you. So we have two countries, country A and country B's government. So both these countries, they have signed an agreement to come up with a new capital city in a state in country A. Okay, and we have the area for the capital city. The prospective capital city is given to you. It's about 7,235 square kilometers, so quite a large area here. And your company has to work with another company. Let me find the line here. Okay, anyways, so the associated cost for successful design and implementation of the master plan will be recovered as a consequence of anticipated master plan planning opportunities arising in country A. So the country A will be paying you the cost for the design consultancy. Okay, so the business objective for the project are in direct support of your company's corporate strategic plan to becoming a leading partner in global urban solutions. So the project manager of your company is Mr. Allen, and Mr. Allen has the overall authority and responsibility for managing and executing this project according to this project plan. The project team will comprise of personnel from urban planning. So you can imagine, so when we are coming up with a new capital city, then there will be quite a lot of skills that will be needed, right? So for this particular project, so we are looking at the design phase of the capital city. So we'll require, apart from a project manager, so there will be an urban planner, an architect, technical engineers, quality control engineers, and technical testing groups. So all of these people will be involved in the design phase. All right, so so now let us have a look at the project scope. Okay, so we are mainly looking into, so in a construction project, we know that we have already discussed about this. So there can be different life cycle stages. So there can be a planning and design stage, and then there can be a construction. There will be a construction stage, and then operation, demolition. So it is always important to identify while doing all of those discussions that which life cycle stage of the project are we looking into. So we are looking into the design and planning of the project of this state capital. So what we want to do, what the client want us to do, is produce a three-part master plan, and we'll have a look at what the three-part master plan will look like. And this three-part master plan has to be submitted to government, to country A's government within 18 months, meaning you have 18 months to plan and design this capital city. So what are the three deliverables? So we talked about three master plans. So this is it. So in the first stage, in stage one, you have to design a new land use plan to mark out commercial, residential, public transport, and other infrastructure. So you have an area of 7,000 square kilometers, so roughly 7,000. So if you round this up, so for this 7,000 square kilometers, so you have to do the zoning of the land, right? So if you look into any model capital city, then you will see that there is the zoning is done in such a way that there will be a zone for commercial space, there will be a zone for residential, zone for schools and hospitals, and of course a transportation grid. So there can be different types of spiral, circular, different types of transportation grid. So this will be mainly done. The leading member for doing this will be the urban planner, along with the help from the other skill set as well. So this you have to do in 12 months, and you have to submit it by 30th of April 2022. So you can assume that this project will begin somewhere in April of 2021. So you have approximately 12 months to deliver the larger master plan. And then in stage 2 and 3, which will be running simultaneously, these two stages. So you have to design a new capital city master plan for 220 square kilometer by 6 months, up to 31st of October 2022. So once this stage 1 has been completed, you're going to kickstart stage 2. And simultaneously, you will also have to design a seat development master plan for 8 square kilometer by again 6 months, similar time frame for both of this. If you're wondering what seed development master plan is, so seed development is basically the heart of the capital, or you can say the commercial hub of the capital. So you can see that the area is much smaller, but this will be one of the most important part of the capital city. So this is what the scope of your project is. Now, this is what we have to discuss for this first activity. So the project completion will occur when 3-part master plan has been successfully produced. So we have 12 months for stage 1, and we have 6 months to simultaneously complete stage 2 and stage 3. And once we finish doing all of this within 18 months, and once we submit this to country A's government, then we can say that the project has been successfully completed. Okay. So all master planning work will be performed internally, and there won't be any outsourcing of any kind of work. I feel like I missed out something. There should be a consultant called Zurong Consultant. Oh yeah, over here, sorry. So your company, so there are 2 companies that are going to be working together. So 2 governments are working together and 2 companies are working together. So your company, a consultancy company, will be working with another consultancy company called Zurong Consultants. Okay, so both your company and Zurong Consultant will have to work together to execute this plan, and then you will submit it to country A's government, because the capital state is going to be coming up in country A. Okay, so country B is just kind of helping out country A to realize their capital city plan. All right, so this is what we have. This is the task that we have to fulfill for the first activity. So there are 4 tasks. I'm going to show you the solution for the first 3, because I feel like it is very structured, and it's better, instead of discussing it, it's better if I show you the solution. And for the 4th one, I would like your participation in the discussion. Okay. So the first one is prepare a change management plan. That is a process to address any change request. Meaning, if you have, so you have your planning stage, that is what we are going to discuss, right? So, but if you want to make any change to the plan, so you have your planning already done, but if you want to change any of those plans, so how do you do it? What is a formal way to do it? It's not like one day you suddenly wake up and you feel like changing a part of the plan. You cannot just go and execute the change. So there is a formal way to carry out the change. And how can you carry it out? So that is what the question is asking. Okay, so from your examination point of view, this is important to understand. Questions like this might come in your final exam, if not the quiz. All right, so let me show you the solution for this. Meanwhile, if you have any question regarding anything that I'm talking about, please let me know in the chat section, and I will be happy to go back and explain it. Okay. All right, so this is the formal steps that we have to undertake in order to execute any change, or in order to request any change in the planning stage. Okay. So firstly, who can request for a change in the plan? So any of the project team members or any stakeholders, they can request for a change in the plan. Okay. And this will effectively be whether the request will be accepted or rejected. So that authority will be under the change control board. So they have a for any project of this scale, there will be a change control board, and they will have a look into the legitimacy of your request, and they will decide whether to approve your request or deny it. So anyways, let's look into all these steps involved. So first of all, the requester, which can be one of the project team members or any of the stakeholders, right? So they can request for a change. So what they will do is they will, of course, identify the requirement for the change, and they will submit the change request form to the project manager. So the request won't be directly going to the CCB. So first the requester will fill out a form requesting for this change, and then it will be sent to the project manager. Now, the project manager will maintain a record of all of these requests for any change in the project. Okay, and the project manager will now evaluate how this request that the requester has made, how is it going to impact the project in terms of the project cost, what kind of risk it will what kind of risk it will pose, and then how is it going to impact the schedule of the project, the scope of the project. So all of this will be evaluated by the project manager, and the project manager, based on his or her evaluation, will prepare a written report. Now next, the project manager will send this written report, which is also known as change evaluation analysis report. Now this report, which is prepared by the project manager, will be sent to the CCB, which is the Change Control Board, for review. And next, the Change Control Board will look into the report, and based on that, they will have some discussions and they will decide whether to approve this change or whether to deny this change. Okay? So the final decision rests on the CCB, but the decision will also largely depend on the report that has been prepared by the project manager. Now, if your project is denied, if your request is denied, of course, the change won't take place. But if the request for change has been accepted, then the decision will be passed down to the project manager, and the project manager will reevaluate the project scope and everything, updated, and then the changes will be communicated to the rest of the team members and the stakeholders. Okay, so very easy, but this is how the formal structure for any request for change like. Do you guys have any questions regarding the first activity? Yes, no? Is it clear? Are you guys awake? All right. No response. I assume that it's all clear then. Let's move on to the next question. All right, so the next question is prepare a communication management plan during the project. Now, we know that for any project to be successfully executed, transparency and communication between different team members is extremely important, right? So it is always good to have a communication management plan. So basically, what kind of meetings, what kind of updates are required for the project, and what is the frequency of these meetings, or what is the frequency of the updates. So all of that will be contained in the communication management plan. So let me show you the solution for this as well. All right, so typically in any project, so when we want to do when we want to draft a communication management plan, we can do that by using a communication matrix. So this is what is a communication matrix. Basically, this matrix contains what are the type of communication that we want to carry out in the project. So is it like a report, written report, or is it like a one-on-one team meeting? And then description of what a more detailed description of what these meetings will look like, and then what is the frequency of those meetings, and then who are going to be the participants in these meetings, and at the end, what is the deliverable, what is the outcome of these meetings. Okay, so this so you can prepare a communication matrix like this to make sure that there is effective communication in a project. while executing a project. So let us have a look at the communication matrix that has been prepared for this particular project. Okay, and this can also be, I would say, this can also be applied to any construction project. It's pretty much the same. So status report. So status report is basically updating the it's very clearly says updating the status of the project. So how much of it has been completed, if there is any hindrance, if there is any trouble in executing the project. So what are those? So all of those updates, and this is mainly the status update is given to the project sponsors and the stakeholders. Okay. So for giving the status report, we don't necessarily have to have any kind of one-on-one meeting with the project sponsor. We can just email them the summary of the project status. Okay, and this can be weekly. And these participants will be, of course, the project sponsor, because they are the one who is interested in the status of the project. And of course, the team members can also be involved, and the stakeholders can be involved. So deliverables is we'll just send the status report via email to all of this participants. And then we have project team meeting. Now this project team meeting is basically internal meeting within the project team to review the work that has been done, to review the project status as well. But this is more like an internal discussions of the updates of the project, and if they have faced any kind of problems. So it's the discussion within the team. So the description of this is to meetings to review the action register and the project status. So action register is basically how much of the milestone has been achieved, right? So at the start of the project, before executing the project, we have some milestones, goals set up, and how much of this has been achieved and how much is left to be achieved. So this is updating those as well. So you will see that the deliverable is to update the action register. And this can all be weekly, and the more frequent, the better. And then the participants, of course, as I told you, this is an internal kind of meeting. So only the project team will be involved here. And there can be some other updates as well. So project review. Again, project review is reviewing the overall project status. So presenting the project status to the team and the sponsor. So the difference between the first one, status report, and the project review is the other one was a weekly update, and this is like an overall picture of the project. So this is a monthly update. Again, the stakeholder will be same, project sponsor, team, and stakeholder. So this is also similar to the status report. So here similarly we have we are also updating this the status of the project, but here we are doing it one-on-one rather than via email in the project review. And then project gate reviews. So project gate reviews is, as we have seen in the project description that we are considering here. So there are 3 stages, right? Sorry. Emiliano, wouldn't weekly reports create extra unnecessary admin work? Yes, it might, but it depends. Maybe some people don't mind doing. To be honest, this is just a template. As I keep repeating in each class that what actually happens out in the real world, it depends. Sometime I have seen in some work, that there won't be any updates for 2-3 months. In some cases, there will be updates every week. So I will come back to your point later, just giving an example of a construction project versus maybe a software development project. So it will also depend on the type of project that we are talking about. Say we are talking about a software development project. So in that, we know that every day there are new things coming up. The market is so competitive. Maybe in that case, we might want to have a weekly update to see if there is any change in the expectation from the client side. But you're right, maybe in a construction project, not that much. So it depends on the type of project as well. Anyways, coming back to here, we have project gate review. So project gate reviews is basically, if you're talking about this project description here, we have 3 stages. So once we complete one stage and once we move on to the next 2 stages, so before doing that, we can have a project gate review. this is basically formally closing down one phase of the project and kickstarting the next phase of the project. Okay, and this, of course, the frequency will be as needed when you say in 18 months, sorry, 12 months we complete stage one. So maybe after 12 months we can have project gate reviews, right? So in 12 months we are closing down stage one, and then we'll move on to delivering stage two and stage three. So this will be as needed. And again, this is kind of a big update. We are closing down one phase. So all of the stakeholders, this project sponsor team, all of them will be involved here. So once we complete stage one, so we can produce a stage one completion report, and also we'll kick off the next two phases. So that is what happens here. And last but not the least, technical design review. So this is one of the most important meetings. So this is, of course, within the team members. So basically here's structural engineers, architect, electricians, hydraulic engineers, all of them will be constantly, that's where the frequency is needed, constantly meeting with other team members to work on the project. So they will review the technical details of the project and update it accordingly. So the deliverable is to come up with different technical packages, for example, structural design packages, electrical work packages, and hydraulic work packages, all of those. So this is kind of working on the technicalities of the project detail. So yeah, so some more details given here. So typically, so these are the type of communication that has to take place within the team members and the sponsors and the stakeholders to make sure that the work is being carried out in a transparent manner. We don't get stuck in any kind of issues. So this is what the communication metrics looks like. Now, for all of this, this will be presided by the project manager. So it is a job of the project manager, firstly, to come up with this communication metrics and to make sure that everyone is kind of aware of what their involvement is in different types of updates. So typically what the project manager does is at least 2 days before the meeting is supposed to run, they will send the agenda of the meeting to all of these people who are involved. And then this participants are supposed to review this agenda before they come to the meeting. And then in the meeting, the minutes of the meeting will be made. So minutes of the meeting is basically writing down the important discussion or important outcomes from the meeting. And then it will be sent to all the people who were present in the meeting no later than 24 hours. So this is how typically it takes place. Okay, any question regarding this second activity? Again, this is just a template to give you guys some idea about how it can take place. As Emiliano has pointed out, sometime the frequency can be different. This can be too frequent for a construction project, but again, it depends on the type of project that we are talking about. Okay, if no question, then let's have a look at the third question. Yes, depend on the type of project and the location in the timeline. Yeah. So let me give you a quick example. Say I come up with this very genius idea. So I come up with this idea for an app similar to WhatsApp maybe, and I go to say I don't have any of the expertise to make this app into reality. I just have this idea. So if I go to some technical team, IT people, who are expert in making apps. And if I go to them today and if I give them this idea and they tell me like, okay, so we can make this app into a reality, but it will take 6 months. Now, in that case, within the 6 months, you can imagine like there can be a lot of changes in the market, your competitors, right? That might be executed in the next 6 months. So if you just sit at home without any update, just given your initial idea, and if you get your app after 6 months, you can imagine your app will be much behind the other apps. So in this case, maybe you want to have like a constant touch with the technical team to make sure that you give them an update of what upgrades you want in your app. So in that case, I think it's better to have more frequent communication. right? So again, it depends. Um, all right, let's get back to our third activity. So creating a staffing plan for the project. So staffing plan is basically what kind of skill set are required for this project. Again, it is the job of the project manager and also the HR team to hire the right people, right? So we know the scope of the project, so we have to identify what kind of skill sets are required for this project. Can you guys think of some of the skill sets that will be required for the project? Now, of course, project manager, as well as I have already mentioned about the urban planner. Can you guys think of any other skill set that okay, assistant project manager, okay. Anything else? So if you are coming up with a new plan for the city, okay, senior consultant, consultant for what? Structure or technical consultant. Okay, anyone else? No? Everything is structure, yes, environmental, MEP. Well, sorry, what is MEP? Okay, mechanical, electrical, plumbing. Okay, yeah, that's correct. Anything else? Anyone would like to give it a try? Okay, no one. All right, let's have a look at the solution that has been provided. Right, so of course, project manager. Now the project manager is responsible for the overall project management, right? So um, that we already know. And apart from the project manager, maybe also we might need a senior programmer. So senior programmer, because when we are talking about a project of this scale, we might also want to use some software to put in the information of the building. So you guys might have heard about BMI coding. So BMI is basically building information modeling. So in BMI coding, so we put in all the details of the region of the buildings, for example, the sunlight and the wind speed and the earthquake zone and all of those. And this might help us in planning the capital city. And for doing this, a senior programmer might be needed. And also apart from this, the senior programmer might help in creating the work packages and also scheduling the activities of the project. And of course, urban planner, we talked about this before. So for the 7,000 square kilometers spread, we want to a zone. We want to put the land use to different zones in the master plan project. So so where the hospitals are going to be, in which zone the hospitals are going to be located, the schools are going to be located, the residential areas are going to be located. So we have to strategically place all of those, and the urban planner might be helpful in doing that. All right, what else? Architects, of course, as Emiliano has rightly identified, so we'll need architects, we'll need electrician, plumbers. All of those are not listed here, but of course you can add those as well. So architects will be working with the urban planner in preparing the master plan, right? And then senior technical engineer. So basically, senior technical engineer will make sure that the whatever master plan the urban planner and architects come up with, they comply with the technicalities and they comply with the regulations and standards that are in place in that country, in that region. And then again, quality specialists. So quality specialists will be working with project manager and the senior programmer in tracking the quality, and similar to technical engineers, so they will also make sure that the work is being carried out as per the standard of the place, as per the standard of different works. And then the technical writer. So technical writer is basically responsible for drafting the technical reports of everything that takes place here. Sorry, there's something in the chat. Maybe also accountants and lawyers operating behind scene. Yes, definitely. Yeah. I feel like this is not a very comprehensive list. There can, of course, be lawyers. Yes, I think lawyers are very important, especially environmental lawyers, one who are aware of the if you're talking about New South Wales, we know that there is Land and Environment Code. So yes, lawyers who are aware of the legalities of that particular region. And of course, accountants, yes, maybe I'm not sure if they are talking about the budgeting in this phase, but maybe, yes, if you want to, if you are also looking into the cost aspect of the project, because here it just mentioned like the master plan drawing, but if we are also doing the budgeting of the project, then yes, maybe accountants as well. So yeah, the technical report will just be the main job. The technical report will be just drafting the formal reports for all of these project communications that take place during the project drafting. Oh yeah, to make the payments. Yeah, that's a clever one. Yeah, to make the payment for all of these people involved in the project. Yes, yeah, there might be accountants and HR involved in behind the scenes. So it depends, like how, in what depth you want to look into, right? So of course, there can be a lot of people involved in an organization, in a consultancy office. So it depends on like how many layers of employee you want to look into. Okay, I'll give some rest to my throat now. So for the next question, I want you guys to have some discussions, okay? And we have done this kind of discussions in our previous workshops, so this might be easy for you. So the next question is what risk you foresee and propose mitigation measures for the same. So before we go on to discussing this, I would like to add one point which kind of is missing in the project briefing. So whenever we talk about a development of this size, so you can imagine 7,000 square kilometers. So this is mainly, where do we get this kind of land from? So these are mainly development that takes place in farmland, right? So when you're discussing about risk, you might also want to think in that angle. So we are displacing a lot of farmland so we are taking away this farmland from farmers, and then we want to come up with this capital city. So what will happen, the social aspect, so what will happen to these farmers? So how are you going to deal with that social aspect? So just think about that part as well, apart from the typical project management issues such as cost and budget, which will of course be a risk. So apart from that, try to also channel your thought towards the social aspects of this. All right, so I'll give you some time. So just put your points in that section, and let's see what kind of risk you can foresee for this project. And also keep in mind there are two consultants, two countries involved in this. So it's a very complex, giant project. So what kind of risk do you foresee for this project? And also, how can you mitigate or control those risks? All right, guys, there are 24 people in the room. Let's get a good discussion, okay? Okay, sure, yeah. I'll also give you guys some time to go through the project details if you want to. And yeah, just put your thoughts in the chat section, or if you are lazy typing, then you can just talk using your microphone, okay?
Hello, Pretty. There.
Sorry, hi, Emily. Yeah, my microphone was muted. Yeah.
So The thing is that I still don't have quite clear what the project is about. As far as I understand, it
Mhm,
is countries
mhm,
designing just the plan or the
mhm.
design of a new capital city. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Why two different countries creating a capital city for one country?
Yeah, so good question. So, do, so there are diplomatic ties between countries, right? So, okay, sorry for bringing up a lot of examples from India, but so what happens is India is a very large country, right? And there are a lot of tiny countries surrounding it, like Bangladesh. So we have a very good diplomatic tie between India and Bangladesh. So sometimes when this how do I put it in a very subtle way? So when these smaller countries, when they have good diplomatic ties, so this larger country might want to help out the smaller countries in their development processes. So similarly, you can think about maybe so these war-torn countries. So if those war-torn countries want to rebuild their economy, right, then a larger country like the US might step in helping them out. So that's why different countries they might help each other in creating a new capital city. Right?
Okay, so maybe one risk could be that country, assuming that country B is bigger and economically more
Mm-hmm.
powerful than
Mm-hmm.
country A,
Yeah,
maybe country B could impose their own interests while
definitely.
deciding this capital city for country A,
Yes,
therefore
yes.
create threats for the residents of country A.
Yes,
So that
definitely. Yeah. I feel like this, whenever two countries are involved, it can be a very delicate dance. Like, so this is a project long term. So this is what I was expecting from you guys. So this is the first and the most important risk that should come to your mind. So we are talking about two different countries. Now, of course, country B is helping out country A, but they will have some self-interest, right? And we are talking about a project, very long-term project. So within that period, there can be some strains in the diplomatic relationship between country A and country B, and that can definitely impact the project development. All right, good point. Um, Again, sorry, let me get back to the chat section. So Hugh says the preparation of project in country B fails to adequately recognize the regulation requirement and context of country B. Or I think you mean to say country A. Yes, that can definitely. So if there are some, so the first thing first, so the capital state is coming up in country A. So if some employees from country B are going to be working in this project, then they have to firstly be aware of the culture, the politics, the economy, everything of country A, right? And if they fail to understand any of this, like the political situation, the culture, the economy, um, the regulations that are in place, that can definitely be a problem. All right, so kind miscommunication between two countries, so there might be some delays in the project. Yes, definitely. So all in all, the summary from this discussion is, so since there are two different countries involved, so definitely the diplomatic ties that flows out between these two countries over the next few years is going to dictate the progress of the project, and there is something which most importantly the project manager will have to make sure this relationship goes on smoothly. Okay, so all right, good point. Also, there are two consultants involved, so your consultancy is going to work along with Zurong consultants. Again, similar to country A and country B's relationship, we also have to make sure that your consultancy and the Zurong consultant have similar values. For example, your consultancy is very much into green technologies and sustainable development and all of those. But if your values doesn't align well with that of Zurong consultant, maybe they are more economic driven, not that much. So they come up with all these fancy industries and all, which are going to have a lot of emissions and all. Now, again, this clash of interest can be another risk, right? So we have to make sure that your values align together. So again, this can be sorted with discussions and understanding between these two consultants, right? Okay, those are like the bigger problems. Can you guys think of anything regarding the farmland, like the location of the project itself? There was an airport that came up in China. If anyone is from China, can you please let me know? I forgot the name of the airport. It was somewhere near Beijing. So this new airport came up, and because of this new airport, a lot of farmers were dislocated from that place. And even though it was for the better of the day, they wanted to expand the development of the city. It is part of the less developed part of China, but it got a lot of backlash from the international community uh, because of not properly compensating these farmers and all of those issues. So can you think of similar issue for this project that came up? And if so, how can it be mitigated? So in future, you guys might be working as a project manager. So how can you deal with a situation like that? Terry, the one that looks like a giant octopus. Yes, I think, yeah, it looks, yeah. Let me quickly Google it while you guys think of how to mitigate the issue. Okay, I found the name of the airport. Beijing Dazing Airport, Beijing Dazing International Airport. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. So I think this a new airport, it came up to kind of reduce the air traffic of the capital Beijing, but also to kind of develop the less developed part of this city. Sorry, the less developed part of this area. But yeah, there was a lot of dislocation of farmlands and all of those. So therefore, it got some backlash from the environmental activists around the world. Okay, anyone with any idea? So you won't give any compensation to the farmers, nothing? Come on, I got the flu. You guys are acting as if you guys got the flu. Um, Yes, Emiliano, it doesn't say it in the project description, but I just added it because I'm not sure at what point did you join in, but yeah, the lecturer forgot to mention that in the workshop briefing. So yeah, I just added that. Yeah, and typically
So
is that.
basically, the project will be placed on a farming area,
Yes,
correct?
yeah.
And the question is, what can we do to mitigate the risk or to compensate the farmers?
Yes.
Well, just relocating them and giving them money. Well,
That's a
that's
one of That's a one-off solution. So what if they run out of, so I have seen this kind of compensation being given in some projects, but the problem with this kind of compensation is once they get the money, they're like this, we're talking about farmers, they don't have a lot of idea about investment and all. So once they run out of the money, they might do some strikes and all. So can you guys think of any sustainable plan for these people? And also these farmers, when they suddenly, there's this capital, world-class capital city coming, they might not be able to fit into the lifestyle. So what you can
well,
do is, yeah, yeah. Do you have any
the
idea?
thing that comes to my mind is first of all doing a community engagement, engaging
Hmm.
with the farmers, asking them what would be beneficial for them, what do they
Hmm.
want kind of in exchange,
Yeah.
trying to listen to them.
Hmm.
And if they want money, well, that could be a solution. If they want more lands or if they want other farms, they can
Hmm.
work in providing other lands that can be farmed. Or
Hmm.
if they want to work in the city, they can come up with new ideas of providing them work. But first
Right.
of all, we need to listen to them. What do they want? What are their needs?
Yes, yes, definitely. That will be the first step. So we have to talk to them. We have to communicate like what is going to happen and what are their expectations. Also, yes, monetary compensation, relocation of housing, and all of those. And apart from that, I think it is extremely important to train these people to fit into this new lifestyle and also to come up with employment opportunities for them. And of course, they are farmers and now they will have to work in fancier places. but there can be skill assessment, skill trainings and all of those to enhance their skills. And then if you give them employment in this new city, then I think that there is a more sustainable solution to it. Okay, any other risk that you can see? So apart from this, hmm, what if the employees doesn't have the experience of handling a project of this caliber? Yes, inexperienced team member. Definitely. So we also have to make sure the whoever is hiring these people that they are aware of the socio-economic condition of the area, as well as they have handled a project of this caliber, right? So that is something we want to look into as well. So it's not like you hired some people and then suddenly they are given this project and they are incapable of carrying it out. Okay, what else? And also we are talking about we talked about BMI, so building information modeling. So BMI is something which everyone might not be aware of. So in general, like we want to make sure that whatever softwares or whatever skill set we are looking for in this project, so everyone, at least the people who are going to be involved in this, are well trained in all of this, right? Okay, I think we discussed almost all the points, and there will be, of course, the solution provided to you, and you can have a look for more ideas about the risk and the mitigation plan. All right, so now for the next question, I had some issues in the previous workshop session because they were told that this kind of questions were not covered in the class. But I thought that the workshop is just for practice and this has already been covered in your class. So can you guys tell me if you have drawn any network diagram before? Is there anyone who doesn't know how to draw a network diagram?
The one in Q3?
Sorry, this. Okay, Hugh says I have never drawn one. The question number 2. So these activities and preceding activities are given to you, and then by looking at this table, you have to draw a project network diagram. So okay, there's one who has never drawn. What about the rest? Because I know
Uh,
that, yeah,
I understand it that from that table we have to come up with something
like
like
this.
that look like
Yeah,
Q3.
yeah.
I did it like 1 year ago. So
Hmm. Okay, I thought that this was already being covered in the class. So by taking in consideration the discussion I had with the previous workshop session, I have a YouTube video. So I'm going to share it with you guys. Hopefully that will make things more clear. Okay, just hold on. I'm going to share my screen. And after having a look at that video, I want you guys to try and attempt this one, okay? All right, so let's have a look at the video.
Draw CPM diagrams by hand. So first of all, let's just do the first project we have up here. We have table dependencies. Right away, we can draw on activity A as our first activity. We have our activity on the arrow between 2 nodes, so we're good to go for now. Next up, we have activities B and C. Both depend on A, so we can have an arrow coming off B and then coming off C. And next up, we have activity B. It depends on activity B, so let's draw an arrow coming off of B. Then next, we have activities E and F. They both depend on C, so I'm going to suggest, what if we draw it like this? And when we went to draw activity G on here, in order to get all correct predecessors, we have to draw this. Now this has the correct predecessor relationships. We need D, E, and F to finish before G can start. And this is correct. We have the easiest one to see is E, right? E leads into point where E is done and G begins. And then D leads into this point E is done. It's connected with this dummy activity that actually has no time duration. It's not an actual activity. It just shows that you have to continue this on. So D must G can start. Same for F. F must finish before G can start. But the way that I've drawn this, there's two dummy activities. We actually want to minimize the amount of dummy activities that we're using, and so there's a way to draw this where we'll only use one instead of two. So I'll just erase it. So now what we've done is we've reduced the entire network diagram to only have one dummy. We still have all the correct predecessors for G, right? So D leads to G start, E leads into, and then F by extension of this dummy leads into. So F needs to also be done before G can start. The next we have to do is just draw an activity. And then the last thing we need to do is we need to number each node in a way that every arrow points from a lower to a higher number. So I would do it this way. This way we can use these numbers as what's called a unique ij number, which is an alternative name. For example, A's ij number would be 1, 2. B's ij number would be 2, 3. B would be 4, 6. If you notice, every single arrow is always pointing from the lower number to the higher number. That's correct. If that's the case, then you know you've been correct. All right, so let's move on to the next example here, because this one is done. For the next example, we have.
Was it clear, or do you guys want to have a look at another example? Or was it too fast? Can I get some feedback? If you guys want, then I can explain it to you as well. Clear. Okay, Emiliano. What about the rest of you guys? Okay, cool. Why does he use arrows at activity rather than the circle? Okay, Victor, so there are two kinds of network diagrams. So the activities on arrows and activities on node. So here, this particular example shows activities on arrow, but you're right, it can also be activity on node. So either one is correct if there is no mention of that in a question. So you can draw it either way. Okay. All right, so I'm going to show you the solution for the question that we have. It's a pretty simple one. So it's a bit difficult to be honest because the question is in a different page and the solution is in a different page. So can you guys take a picture of this on your phone and then I'm going to show you the solution and you can compare, okay? Sorry, I wish the classes were one-on-one. When we have online classes, we have to do a little bit of twist. Anyway, so take a picture of this on your phone and then I'm going to show you the solution and hopefully that will help you to understand. All right, so here first is activity A. For activity A, there is no preceding activity, right? That means activity A is the first one to happen. There is no activity to happen before activity A. So this is the first one, right? And then we see that B and C and E. B, C, and E happens after activity A. So B, C, and E, all of this are coming out once activity A has been complete, right? And then if you look here, so F is happening after E and B. But you cannot connect directly from B to F because even D is coming out from here. So in that case, you can connect this by dotted arrow, and this is known as dummy activity. So dummy activity means this is not a real activity. This doesn't have time allocated to this. So all the other activities, they have some time allocated, but this dummy activity doesn't have any time allocated. The only purpose of this is to show that F will take place after E and E has been completed. Okay, so this is this. And then H is happening after F and D, so it comes out from this point to here. And G is happening after C, so over here. And I will take place after Z, so over here. And then J will happen after H and I, so like this. Why is it dotted line? Yes, Emiliano, it is dotted because this is a dummy activity. All right, because this is a dummy activity, this is not a real activity. So all this activity A, B, okay, let me give you an example for this. So all this activity A, but the table doesn't specify. Yeah, so this is just to make a point. So in the table, yes, thanks, Hugh. So this is just to make a point. So if you see for F, in the table it says that F needs to be completed before B and E. So this line shows that yes, F need to be completed before E, but if there isn't, if there is no dotted line here, then it doesn't show that F need to be completed before B. Just to make the point that F need to be completed before F and B, we join this with a dotted line. Okay, and this is a dotted line because this is not a real activity. This is just to make the point that F need to be, just to point a relationship that F need to be completed before E and B. For example, say F is a tiling job where you have to lay tiles on the floor. And then E and B, say E is the activity to lay down the slab, concrete slab, and say B is plastering job. So tiling can be done only once the concrete slab has been laid down and plastering has been done, right? So this can be done only when these two activities are completed. And just to make that relationship, we are putting it a dotted line here. And we are putting it a dotted line here because this is not a real activity. This is just showing the relationship. Okay, Pranjal, it is also because two activities cannot have the same start. Yes, thank you, Pranjal, for putting that out like this. Yes, so two activities cannot have the same start and end. So this is the convenient way of showing it. Okay. You know what? I'm going to put the link for the video. There's one more example. Hopefully that will help you. So I'm going to put the link to the video that we just saw, and hopefully you can watch it at a slower pace, and then it will help you to understand this better. Okay. All right. Let's get back to our next question. Again, I think, okay, I shouldn't say this, but I think this workshop, at least from my previous session, there are a couple of stuff that has not been covered extensively in your class, but are there in the workshop question. So I'm not quite sure how that happened, but anyway. Okay, so we have our next question here. So the next question here is a network diagram. So we have activities, different activities here. Sorry, let me see what there is. Okay, so we have different, so for the next question, we have different activities. So there isn't any name to the activity, so I'm naming it by taking the points, notes, number or note numbers, okay? So say we have activity 1, 2, activity 2, 3, activity 2, 4, 3, 4, again, you can see that it is 0, the duration is 0 because this is a dummy activity. And then we have activity 4, 5, 3, 5, and 5, 6. Now for each of these activities, we have the duration assigned to it. So for activity 1, 2, the duration is 6 days, hopefully days, yeah. For activity 2, 3, it is 8 days. For activity 2, 4, 10 days, and so on. So the duration for each of these activities are given. So what you have to do is calculate the earliest start time and earliest finish time. Now, does anybody know how to calculate EST and EFT? Yes, no, any response? Was this covered in the lecture? Who was the lecturer for this week? Was it Ali or Soradeep? Huh? Emiliano, I think you're talking about the critical path. We'll get back to that later, but first we have to cover A and B. Ali, okay. So do you guys know how to calculate the EST and EFT? No. Okay. That's all right. It's pretty straightforward. So can you guys take out your pen and paper and do it with me? It will be easier for you to understand. So what I want you guys to do is first write down all the activities. So first activity we have is activity 1, 2. So first column, just fill in the first column, write activities and fill in the first column as activity 1, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 3, 4, 3, 5, 4, 5, and 5, 6. Okay, now we know the duration for each of these activities. So first we are going to calculate the early start time. So earliest start time is what the name suggests. So what is the earliest time at which each of these activities can start, right? Yeah, so quite fast, Emilian. Okay, so let us have a look at the earliest start time for each of these activities. So for activity 1, 2, okay, good. So you guys give me the answer. So for activity 1, 2, as you have identified, the earliest start time will be 0. Okay, so now what about 2, 3? What is the earliest start time for 2, 3? We have a duration 6 here. And activity 2, 3 can, yes, start only after 1, 2. So 6 or only after the 6th day we can start activity 2, 3. So earliest start time will be 6. What about 2, 4? What is the earliest time that you can start 2, 4? Yes, correct, 6 again. And then now next, let us have a look at activity 3, 4. So what is the earliest time that you can start this? This is important because this will be needed to look at the earliest start time for this. So what? Yes, 14. 14 because 8 plus 6. Sorry, let me take the cursor pointer. So 8 plus 6 is 14, and only after the 14th, so the earliest start time at which this can start, or you can say this can start, is 14. Okay, so now whenever there are two arrows coming inside, so we have to look at both of this and we have to take the higher number. So this way we have 14 coming in. And what about this way? So what is the earliest time at which 2, 4 can start? Oh, sorry, 16, yes. So here we have 14 coming in, and here we have yes, here we have 16 coming in. So which number are we going to take? Are we going to take 14 or 16? 16, right? The higher number. Because no matter if even if we finish the activity here, we'll have to wait for this activity to be finished in order to start the next activity here. Okay. So the earliest start we can have for 4, 5 is 16 because we have to wait for this activity to be finished. Only then we can start 4, 5. So the earliest start for 4, 5 will be 16. Now we have what is the earliest time at which we can start 5, 6? So we have one coming in from here, one coming in from here. So calculate the total duration here and calculate the total duration here and give me the answer for this. What is the earliest time at which activity 5, 6 can start? 36. Yes, 36. Yes, because so let us calculate all the duration here. So it is 6 plus 8, 6, 6, 12, 12 plus 8, 20. So we have 20 coming in from here. But from here we have 20 plus 10 plus 6, 36. So again, the same logic. So if we have two durations with different numbers, we'll always go for the higher number, right? Because even though we have finished doing this activity, we have to wait for this to be finished. Only then we can carry on with the next activity. So 36. All right, good job, everyone. So that is how you calculate the early start time. Now let us calculate the earliest finish time. Yes, I'll come back to that. So next we are calculating the earliest finish time where you will get the 52. So this is the finish time, guys. So we are talking about the start time now. So start time, we just want to see what is the earliest time that this has started. But just ignore the number here. Okay, I'll show you the table later on, solution file. So it just shows that what is the earliest time this can start and what is the earliest time that this can finish. But we are doing it in an organized way. So yes, we'll come back to that later, Zin. So just with me, just hold on for some time, okay? Let's do the early finish time and then I'll tell you guys what is this 52 about. Okay, so for early finish time, same logic. So we have for different activities, the duration is given. So you have to calculate what is the earliest time at which any of this activity can be finished. So it's the other way around. Before we were looking what is the earliest time any activity can start. Now we are looking at what is the earliest time at any activity at which any activity can finish. Okay, so similarly we have the similar activity. So let's have a look at what is the earliest finish time for activity 1, 2. Can you guys tell me? Yes, 6. All right, now for activity 2, 3, what is the earliest time that this activity can finish? Yes, 14, that's right. Now for activity 2, 4, what is the earliest time that this can finish? Yes, 16. Now, for activity 3, 4, what is the earliest time that this activity can finish for 3, 4? So we have a dummy activity here. Yes, again, it will be 14 because we have 6 plus 8, 14, and plus 0 because this is the dummy activity. So again, it will be 14 as well. All right, so what about 3, 5 now? So what is the earliest time at which 3, 5 can finish? Yes, 20. 8 plus 6 plus 6, 20. Okay, next we have 4, 5. Yes, 4, 4, 5. Yes, 36, right? Because we have one coming in from here, one coming in from here. We take the higher number plus, so that is 16. So we have 16 coming in from here, 14 coming in from here. We take the higher number, that is 16 plus 20, 36. So this is the earliest finish time for this activity. All right, next, what is the earliest finish time for activity 5, 6? Yes, 52, and that is what 52 is for you. Someone was asking, right? So this is what 52 is. So if you're asked to find the early start time, so we are just dealing with the starting numbers. If you're asked to find the early finish time, then we come to this finish node. Okay. So just ignore the number here. So it's kind of a mix up. But in your exam, if you have to calculate the early start time, please just stop here. Don't go to this node. Okay. Don't add up this number to write this because we're just interested in this number. So this is an activity. What is the early start time for this activity? Okay. All right. Next is critical path. So what is a critical path? Anyone? So we have this a network diagram. So in this network diagram, what does a critical path mean? It's the other way. Maximum, yes, the longest time. Yes, or activities with zero float or the longest time. So can someone tell me what is the critical path for this network diagram? So, okay, let me give you some hints. So how to calculate this? Okay, okay, for anyone who doesn't know, let me quickly show you um, how to calculate the critical paths. So first of all, in any given network diagram, so we first want to look at what are the possible paths that we have. So in here, we can have one possible path as 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Second possible path 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. Third possible path 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now for all of this possible path, what we are going to do is sum the total durations. So say for example, you're considering the first path here. So 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. For this, just sum up the duration. 6 plus 8 plus 6 plus 16. What is the total duration? For the second part, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 plus 8 plus 0 plus 20 plus 16. What is the total duration? 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. 6 plus 10 plus 20 plus 16. What is the total duration? And once you sum up all of this, the duration that give you, the path that give you the longest duration, that is known as critical path. And okay, so you guys, it's conflicting. So 1, 2, 5, 6, 8. 1, 2, 5. Wait, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so it is 6 plus 10, 16 plus 20, 26, 26 plus 16, 52. Yes, so this is the longest path. And so this is the critical path. Okay, so 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. If you compare, I think that for the other one, you will get 50. And for this one, you get 52. So the path with the longest duration is your critical path. And all the activities that fall in the critical path are known as critical activities. Now, why is it called critical activities? Because if any of these activities are delayed, you know what? Let me quickly pull out the solution. I think that will be easier for you guys to understand. Yes. Yes. So we have, these are the three possible paths. Now, for all these three possible paths, activity 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 5, 5, 6. So we have calculated the duration. And by calculating the duration, as some of you have rightly identified. Part 1, 2, 4, 5, 6 is the critical path because this has the longest duration. Now, why is it called the critical path? The one that has the longest duration. It's called critical path because this one kind of dictates the total project duration. So, say if any of these activities in this path, even if they are delayed for a few days, so we have some float. So we have some space. So even if this is delayed by say 5 days, it won't affect the overall duration of the project. But if this part, since this is the maximum part, maximum duration part, if any of these activities in this part are delayed, it will cause delay or it will cause overtime in this project. So therefore this is known as critical path. And we make sure that all of these parts, all of these activities that lies in the critical path are being taken care of, and there is no delay in this, in order to avoid any delay in the overall project. Okay, so there's a minimum time we require to finish the project, at least that amount. Yes, this is the earliest finished time that is required for the project. So this is the project duration, you can say, in other words. Okay, so this number is going to dictate the time at which the project can be completed. Is it clear, the concept of critical path? I was hoping that this was covered in your lecture because I think this is one of the most important topics. So if you guys want some more details on this, unfortunately there are a lot more questions to be covered in this workshop, so I can't go into that many details. But if you feel like this concept is still a bit dodgy, unclear, then you can definitely ask your lecturer to explain this a little bit more. Okay. All right. Any question about the critical part? Yes or no will be appreciated. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Pranjal. Thanks, Emiliana. All right. Okay. Yeah. Let's get back to our next question, which is our final segment of today's workshop. The true and false question. Okay. For the true and false questions that we have a lot of questions relating to Scrum, Sprint. So again, I got feedback from the previous workshop session that this was not extensively covered in the lecture. So can you guys let me know if you are aware of the concept of Scrum, Sprint, none of those? Waterfall versus Scrum theory, Agile theory, anyone? Okay. So I'll definitely communicate this with the lecturer. I had similar issues in the last workshop as well, because in this workshop we are mainly supposed to discuss some questions relating to the concept that has been covered in your lecture, because we don't have a lot of time with all these activities. We don't have a lot of time to cover the basics, but okay, I'll try my best. So I have again another video for you to quickly introduce you to the concept of Scrum principle, Scrum Master, and then what is the difference between the Scrum principle and then the traditional waterfall principle. Okay, so let me quickly check how long the video. The video is for 8 minutes, but I might try to cut it short. Let's see. Let's watch the video. And also, I'm going to give you the link to the video so that you can watch the full video later on. Okay. Again, let me share my screen. All right, let's play.
A 7-minute training video with details on what you need to start using Scrum today. This video is intended for people who are just getting started with the Scrum framework and need a quick primer. Hi, my name is Steve Stedman. I am the founder of Utility Software. In this video, we will cover the basics behind Scrum. We'll take a look at how Scrum compares to waterfall development. We'll examine the 3 roles, 3 artifacts, and 3 ceremonies that make up Scrum. First, let's take a look at how Scrum compares to the older alternative of waterfall development. Waterfall typically goes through a lengthy planning process. It could take several months, followed by building the product, which again could take months, and then testing the product. We reviewing, and eventually deploying the product. At this point, you may end up bringing the wrong product to market. Market demand or technology has changed since the original plan was developed. There are several problems with this method. First of all, the planning must be completed before any work begins. In most cases, the planning is done without entirely understanding the project. Once development is being done, oftentimes things get sent back to the planning phase, and the project either needs to start over, or the developers are just criticized for not understanding this cycle can happen many times. When development is done building the product, it's thrown over the test, where when problems are encountered, it bounces back to development and sometimes back to planning. The same issues occur in the next few steps, lots of backstepping and doing over. This can lead to lag times in many months to several years in order to get a product out the door. With Scrum, the implementation of Agile, the process is broken up into smaller pieces. First, we do just enough planning to get started with, building the minimal feature set. Build what was planned. Next, we test and review that small feature set and get it ready to ship. When that cycle is complete, we end up with potentially ship a product. This process usually occurs in a time period of 1 to 3 weeks. This is then repeated time and time again, reducing the time from planning to development to testing. Each time through the process, we're doing just enough planning to complete the next incremental release. You end up with several incremental releases called sprints. A sprint usually takes from 1 to 3 weeks, and you just keep repeating these sprints until your product is featured. Sometimes you may end up shipping your product after the second sprint, or the third, or the fourth, or even further. You eventually end up with a shipping product.
All right, what's wrong with
In
this?
Scrum, there are 3 key roles that are needed for the framework to work well. First, the product owner. This is the person responsible for defining the features that are needed in the product. The product owner has the bright ideas that turn into Scrum Master is a servant leader to the team, responsible for protecting the team in the process, running the meetings, the team's going. The team can be made up of developers, testers, writers, and anyone else that helps in building the product. Team members often play multiple roles. Some days developers may end up doing tests, or testers may end up writing. Either way, the team works to get the product done. There are 3 artifacts or documents that are used in Scrum. First, the product backlog. This is where product owners create a prioritized list of features known as user stories that could go into the product. This list evolves and changes with every sprint. User stories are a way of describing.
Okay, a lot more details here. I'm definitely going to pop the link of this video in the chat. Because we have a lot of stuff to cover, unfortunately, I won't be able to show you the entire video. Was that a bit helpful to understand? No idea, or was it a bit? Okay, sorry, let me take you back to the question. Okay, sort of. So the link is provided, so of course you can get more recommendation from this video and it might help you to understand better. I'll also try to talk to Ali and ask him to elaborate on this topic a bit more. So let me give you a brief summary of what it is. So we have waterfall versus Scrum method, right? So in waterfall is typically what happens in a construction project. So all the requirements of the scope of the project are being laid out at the beginning, and then we start working on this project continuously. On the other hand, in Scrum, what happens is you divide the entire project into small sprints. So sprints is basically, so we have like marathon and then we have 100-meter, 200-meter races, right? So that is what sprint. So sprint is like the smaller races. So in sprint we have in Scrum we have smaller sprints, so it's smaller work packages, and then the total work is broken down into different small work packages known as sprints, and then it is delivered in that way. So that is the main difference between. So we cannot very clearly say which one is better than the other. but of course it depends on the type of project. So if we are looking into a construction project, then I think the waterfall is a better alternative, because right at the beginning, so we cannot like divide our say construction project into smaller 1-2 weeks packages and then deliver it in smaller packages, right? But yes, mix of both. But if again coming back to the software package development, I think in software package development we need a lot of reiteration and renegotiations. I think in that case, sprint is a better option. Anyways, let's move on to the true and false questions that we have. The first statement, so again, if you feel if the statement is true, just type in T. If false, F. And if you're confused, just type in whatever you feel like, because I feel like some of the statements might be a bit confusing now since you don't have a lot of idea about this. But yeah, just type in whatever you feel like, okay? No judgment here. All right, so the first question is, during a sprint, the scope may be clarified and renegotiated between the product owner and the development team as learning progress. What do you think? Is it okay? One true. True. Okay, yes. So the right answer for this is, of course, true, because that is the whole principle of sprint. The whole point of sprint is to renegotiate, the scope of the project, because as we execute the project, as we execute the sprint in this case, then we learn that the scope of the sprint might be broadened. So in that case, yes, the answer is true. So the second question is, a team must deliver on its sprint commitment no matter the cost of the team members' health, personal lives, family, and relations. False. Okay. Is there anyone who thinks that this is a true statement? Okay. False. Of course, it is false, right? But interestingly, there was this word commitment mentioned in the Scrum guide. And some project managers took it too literally, and it was like do or die kind of situation. So the people who developed this Scrum guide, they actually had to revise the Scrum guide and take out the word commitment from their guide in November 2011, because some project managers were taking too literally and pushing the team members too hard to deliver the outcomes on time. So whatever timeline you make for your sprints, you have to know that this is just an approximate forecast and it is not the actual one. So there's this very funny quote that I read somewhere about project managers, that project managers are like people who expect 9 women to give birth in 1 month. So, anyways, so sometimes, yeah, the project manager can push too hard, but yeah, it's actually a false statement. Okay, let's get back to, sorry, just give me a second. All right, so the next question is, during a sprint, anyone with sufficient formal authority in the organization may require the development team to take on additional tasks. So do you think that in a sprint, so we have predefined tasks, we have predefined timelines. So do you think that anyone with authority can add in additional tasks? So you have to understand the expansion of the scope is different from additional task. Improving the scope is just doing the same task with in a better way. Additional task means putting in new task to the sprint. So do you think that this can be done? True. Why do you think this is true? So if we have 2 weeks to deliver a task, do you think that anyone can put in new task? No, actually that's the principle of Scrum theory. It's okay, you guys are not quite aware of it. So in this Scrum principle, no matter what kind of authority you have, you actually cannot put in additional tasks to the sprint until and unless there is an emergency and you have to absolutely take it. But even then, you have to take out some task from the sprint and put in this new task. So you cannot just pop in new task for the sprint. So this is kind of an understanding between all the members involved in the sprint. Okay, so the work can be revised and work can be improved, but you cannot add in additional tasks to this. Okay, but that's all right. This is a very new concept for you guys. I would suggest you, you can actually download this sprint guide, sorry, the Scrum guide. So I think it's like a 20-page document. So all the Scrum principles and everything are in there. I'll try to, by the end of today's workshop, I'll try to find the document for you guys if I can. And you can have a look at that to have a better understanding. All right, and I think the agile topic was covered a little bit in your class. So let's have a look if you can answer these questions. Agile allows a brief hiatus. Hiatus is a fancy word for break after each sprint to allow teams to rest before starting the next sprint. So agile and Scrum are similar concept. So in this agile or Scrum theory, do you think that there can be breaks between different sprints? Yes or no? Just guess it if you don't know. Anyone else would like to try? True, false? I wish it was true, but the answer is false. Actually, in this agile methodology, in this agile methodology, you cannot actually take breaks between each sprint. So each sprint begins immediately following the previous sprint. Okay, that's why I was telling you that this principle is actually not applicable for all types of project. This might be good for software, developing software packages, but if you're talking about, okay, anyways, the next topic is that I will let you guys to guess this. Agile methodology is suitable for managing a bridge construction project. So now that we know that there cannot be any breaks between different sprints, do you think that this is applicable to a bridge construction project? Oh, yes. You think that there did not be any. Okay, so sprints, you have to remember that it is work delivered in small packages. But what do you think? Bridge construction project is a continuous process, or it can be broken down into different levels? Okay, this is a bit confusing for you guys, and I'm sorry about that. But actually, this is a false statement because we learned about the waterfall concept in that video. So that is more suitable for a bridge construction, because in bridge construction we gather all the information that we required at the beginning of the project, and then once we start executing, we don't break it down into different sprints. We just carry out the task continuously. So this is actually a wrong statement, and waterfall is the most suitable way. Traditional waterfall method is the most suitable way in this case. Okay, the solution will be provided to you guys, and there are some explanation provided. Hopefully that will help you to understand this better. The next statement is, it is impossible to follow agile methodology during the design phase. Now remember this, we're talking about construction phase. Now we're talking about the design phase. So do you think that this agile methodology can be used in the design phase in case of addition or alteration of an existing building? So for construction, we know that it is not suitable, but do you think that this is suitable for the design phase? Or it says that it is impossible. So do you think it is impossible to be used in a design phase? False. Yes. Yes, yes. So yes, this is a false statement, and this is a double negative statement. So just make sure when you're answering that. So this is a false statement, meaning that agile methodology can be applied in the design phase, because construction, it's a continuous process. There isn't a lot of interaction with the project sponsor during this building construction. So we get all the information at the beginning, and then we start executing. And once we start executing, it's not a reiterative process, right? We just carry on. But design phase, this can be done by using the agile methodology, but because here we can say break down different floor designs into different sprints, and then we can go through and we can have constant communication with the project sponsors, and then we can improvise on the design. So this is a false statement. Okay, the next statement is, in agile projects, cross-functional teams need to coordinate their efforts and engage in effective collaboration with the project owner and the key stakeholders to achieve success. Yes or no? True or false? Yes, very straightforward, true, right? So this is one of the main advantage of agile principle. There we can have constant, it's divided into smaller work packages, and for each of the smaller sprints we have constant communication with the project stakeholders to understand their expectation and to improve the sprints accordingly. All right, so next is the complexity of projects that use the agile methodology is typically high. Therefore, one person cannot independently manage the entire process. We saw a little bit of this in the video. So typically there are 3 different roles. So of course, sorry, what is the answer for this? True or false? Yes, true, because we saw that at least there are 3 different types of roles. So there is a project sponsor, there is the Scrum Master, which is also known as the project manager in traditional term. And then we have the team member. So it cannot be managed independently by one person. All right, so I'm filling the gap now. So, okay, so first one, maybe you guys can guess. The agile method project management is both incremental and what is the next word? Repeating something related to I. Any guesses? Iterative, yes. I think this was covered in your lecture, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, it is incremental and iterative. Iterative means constantly we keep discussing with the project sponsor and all, and then we keep improvising. So it's an iterative process. All right. For the next one, I'll give you hints and then you put it in the correct place. So fill in the gap. The something or project management approach typically focuses on pursuing a set plan and minimizing deviation as much as possible. So this is the key word. So the first type of project management, there is minimum deviation from the plan. And in the second type of project management, recognizes that a goal will inevitably change. There will be some changes throughout the process. Yes, so one is waterfall and other one is agile. So which one is waterfall and which? Yes. The first one is waterfall, where it is quite rigid. It's not flexible to a lot of changes. And the second one is agile, which identifies that there will be some changes. And also, instead of waterfall, it can also be traditional. So waterfall or traditional is both of those statements are correct. Okay. The next one is the waterfall method is the best project management model for team designing and developing a new software application. What do you think? False, right? Yes. Yes, we already discussed about this. So this can be good for a bridge construction project, but not for a type of project which need constant changes, constant upgrade. So yeah, you guys are right, false. Okay, so next we have 4 statements for waterfall. Now you have to identify the statement which is not a reasonable conclusion regarding waterfall. So consider this as A, B, C, and D. So can you guys tell me which one is a wrong statement regarding waterfall? Yes, C. The correct answer is A, because waterfall model is obsolete and no longer relevant today. So this is a false statement. We have seen that waterfall model is still relevant and still used in large complex projects such as bridge construction. Right? So yeah, the other 3 statements are right about waterfall. Okay. So the last one, fill in the blank. We have to identify the designation of the person who is assigned by the performing organization to lead the team that is responsible for achieving the project objectives. Who do you think is the person? Yes, correct answer, the project manager. So the project manager is the most important role for executing the project. And he or she is assigned by the organization to lead the team, right? So the project manager is the correct person here. Okay, that's the end of today's workshop. Do you guys have anything to add? Okay, sorry, let me quickly pop in this video. Oh, did I already send the video link for the Scrum? Anyways, let me do it again. So this is a video for Scrum. Emiliana, is it always very important in an agile project to strictly define requirements in order to manage customer collaboration? Yes, Emiliana. So one of the important feature in agile is to divide the entire project into. Yeah, it's all right. Sorry, the last question. True and false. Sorry. Let me go back. Can you give me the question number? Oh, sorry. Did we miss something? Oh, is there another question? Oh, sorry, I didn't know. Okay, I missed this. Is it always very important in an agile project to strictly define requirement in order to manage customer collaboration? Okay. What do you guys think? True, true. Well, let me read the statement again. Is it always very important in an agile project to strictly define? No, no, sorry. We define the task activities that are going to be in the agile project, but this is defining the scope of the project. So, is it always important in an agile project to strictly define the scope of the work? So, what do you guys think? False. Anyone else? In agile, what do? We keep refining the scope, right? So if it is defining the activities, sorry, I misread your question. So if this is defining the activities, then it will be, yes, the activities are fixed. But this is defining the requirements. So requirement, in other words, is the scope of the work. So this can, of course, be changed because that is the whole principle of an agile project. The agile principle is that we keep talking to the people involved in that work and we keep refining the scope. So this will be a false statement. Is it clear or still confusing? So agile methodology, in agile methodology, multiple changes will take place within the project scope through discussion between the participants and the clients. But if this was activities like strictly defined activities, then yes. The example for this will be, say, you have your one of the sprint is to say paint the room, okay? So just an example. So one of the sprint or one of the work packages is to paint the room. So the client cannot just come in and say, okay, within this small work package, yes, within this small work package, apart from painting the room, you also have to do the plastering of the floor. So that cannot be done. But defining the requirement means, say, initially it was, say, okay, we are just going to make the 1 or 2 layers of coatings, but later we renegotiate we talk with the client and say, okay, apart from this, we're also putting some weather resistive paint on top. So that can be done. So there is a difference between refining the requirements and adding additional activities. Okay, I hope that is clear. It's a shame that this, even yesterday, the workshop was a bit blurry because unfortunately this was not quite extensively covered in the lecture. But anyways, okay, just give me a minute. Let me try to find the document. If Okay, so this is the PDF with all these Scrum guides. Can you guys click on this and see if it opens? It's just 16 pages. So what is Scrum theory, the definition of it, what is sprint, and all of those are in this document. So Scrum is basically just, okay, great. This is just, it is not like a, how do I say it? This is just like a framework that you can follow. You know, it's not like a way of doing, it is just like a way of doing work. But okay, I'm not quite sure how to explain this, but please have a look at this PDF and watch that video and some other videos relating to Scrum theory and Agile principle. There are a lot of videos available online, and hopefully that will help you to understand this better. Okay. All right. Any other question that you have? If not, then Thank you very much for um, attending today's workshop. And next week is non-teaching week, so I hope you guys have a good week, and I'll see you guys in week 7. All right. Bye, everyone.